Hi guys, today we got a few odds and ends we're going to finish up. I just got through truing up. I actually had to disassemble the rear wheel. The rim was very rusty. I got new spokes, a new rim, and I went in and I cleaned and painted the wheel. As far as the wheel goes, this is just bare aluminum, only I put clear lacquer over it just to protect it and keep it from tarnishing. But that's all I'm going to do. I think most of this era Yamaha had painted silver ones, I think, but this is what I'm going to do. I think it looks okay. It's my own bike anyway. So, I did some wheel assembly and turning on the TC-125 Suzuki series, and nobody watched it. So I'm kind of, it's a lot of work, and I'm just gonna not do it unless somebody says they would like to see it. So I've got this one all done. I'm pretty happy with that. You can see my gauge block here, and over the top looks pretty good up and down. On these steel wheels, you always have where the seam is, and that's right here. You're always going to have a little bit of in and out, and a little bit of up and down right there where they weld it. But this one turned out pretty good, and this is a Thailand wheel, I believe. And I've got the front one ready to go also, and it's the same thing. Painted it with the clear lacquer after I bead blasted it and respoked it. So my plan for the day is to try to get both wheels on the bike. But first, let's go up to the bench, and we've got to get the backing plates prepped. Okay, this is the backing plate for the front wheel, and I've got to hook up all the speedometer equipment here, and it's not real hard. It's just a little time consuming, and you've got to grease everything that goes in there. Move these right now because I've kind of got them grease free. I'm going to start by just putting a little grease all the way down into the hole where this shaft is going to go. And then I'm going to put a little bit up here. And we've got a thrust washer that goes on the top here, and then we've got the collar that holds everything in. And I actually made a wrench out of a piece of 1/2-inch conduit so that I could remove and replace this thing. You can use probably a pair of needle nose. I think I've done that before. You put a little grease on those threads just so we don't gald them. Okay. And it doesn't have to be terribly tight. And just check for freedom of movement there. And while I'm there, I'm going to put that thing in all the way. Yeah. and get some grease on the gear. And just we'll get some on that seal. Now we've got a thrust washer. And the gear. Again, let's get a little lube on it. That fits down there, and as you rotate it in, it'll drop down, and you can see the two have I think you can see it. The two have meshed here, and they're turning as they're designed. Okay, then we've got the collar that goes with the ears up, then another thrust washer, and then our snap ring. Find a pair of pliers. And there we're in. Now you can see everything's moving as it should there. Probably can't with my fingers in there though. Okay, so that's all the speedometer parts. Yeah. Let me get this one thing that I got to get grease on, and then I'm going to clean my hands before I handle the brake shoes. So we've got our grease on there. Probably a little more than we need. Remove the excess. Yeah, let me get some of this grease off my hands. All right. I think so I can kind of handle them now. Let's see, this is gonna be just like that. So let me get my lever on kind of where I think it's gonna go. Giving me a little hammer here to this will more than likely have to be repositioned. Let me get a bolt for that. Okay, we've got a bolt in there. Like I say, that'll more than likely have to be repositioned. But we'll get it in there for now so we can get our shoes on. And what we need to do is I just kind of take these and start them. Start the springs. And you can kind of position them here to, well, I guess if I'd put them together, right? This way. Okay, so both the springs, and again I need a little bit of lube here, not very much. And you just kind of put this on like that, one side. And we're getting our sprocket on. Didn't want to insult anybody's intelligence by showing them how to change a tire. And believe it or not, I'm not that great at it either. It's just one of those things that I hate doing. But I tell you what, this stand makes it a lot easier because I don't have to wrestle around with it on the floor anymore. I'm getting too old for that. Well, we've just got lots of little small things we have to get done so we can get to the greater end here. What we got here? We got a problem with nope, that's a good one, okay. Yeah, it's best to get all this kind of stuff done off the bike. You don't want to overdo it, strip them. Snug them up good and then bend your tabs over. Yep, getting ready to put the rear wheel on, and I noticed and consequently remembered that it was missing one of the spacers right there. So I looked it up on Rocky Mountain ATV's site, and it seems like the left and the right spacer are the same ones. So we're going to make one on the lathe. It's all these little things that you don't notice until you get ready to put something together. Got a piece of DOM in here. It's a little bit bigger, but it's got the right amount or the right size hole in the middle, so I don't have to do anything there. So all I've got to do is take a little off of the outside and cut it off, and I'll have to plate it too. That's a pretty heavy cut. while I was on Rocky Mountain site, I looked and they are no longer available. I'm sure I could find one on eBay or something, but like I say, it's simple enough to turn one of these out. I'll do that and then replate it or plate it like the other one. Here's our new one. Just like the old one. This one I've replated. This one is going to be that way. It's going to be plated. So you don't have to run off and buy something like that. You can take care of it right here in your own home shop. Okay, get our brake pads on the back here. I've already got them lubed up where they need lube. Here and here. Just a little, don't need much. Got my springs on. I'm just going to pull it apart like this. And then pull it over, just like that. And with that done, pads a little bit with a little brake clean. Again, what I do on these is take a little 80 grit sandpaper. If your shoes are still good, which these appear to be, just a little 80 grit sandpaper, clean them up, and then use some brake clean on them, and they should be good for another 40 years. Okay, let's get some of this stuff put on here. I went ahead and put the front wheel on just because it's not the most coordinated thing in the world to put a wheel on a bike, only one wheel. The back one's not on here yet. That's the one we just made the spacer for. So to keep you guys from laughing at me too much, I went ahead and put this on by myself. It's just a bolt, no big deal there. but it's starting to look like a bike again, is it not? What I'm going to do here, I've got the handlebars started on here. I'm going to get them set up. Kind of got them set where I want them. These are the closest that I've found to the Enduro bars, and they're made by Fly Racing. It's a good match. Maybe a little wide. You may, if you want to, cut them off. I never do. But I think they're a pretty close match to them. If anybody's really interested, I'll look the number up for you, and you know, if you leave a comment. Okay, and on the back wheel, I'm going to go ahead and put it on, but I do need to plate the new spacer. But I've also got I've got to get a seal, and I've got one coming from Rocky Mountain ATV motorcycle, so that should be in probably Tuesday, and I can kind of get finished up on that. But for right now, I'm just going to put it on so I can put the foot pegs on, get this out, and get the foot pegs on, and skid plate, and that sort of thing. So it'll just take a second to get it on, or to get it back off if I need to, which I will need to. Yeah, there it goes. I figured there's got to be a way to get it in there without tearing it all back apart. All right, that should hold everything, so I can get this down and off. See if we can get these pegs on. Tried to do this before, and you just can't slide it under there with the stand underneath it. And we've got to pull the brake lever down to get it underneath it. little trouble lining that up. There. That one in there anyway. I believe that's it. Get a wrench. Let's get our kickstand on. I use the same tool to put brake shoes on a car, to put that on. It works real good on your springs. Let's see about our skid plate. This one's seen better days, but it'll still function. Believe it or not, I straightened it up quite a bit. These old bikes were just really thrashed. I know I did mine. I just beat the crap out of it, rode it every day. And in the morning, it was ready to go again. Seemed like I really never had to do a whole lot to it. Start. All right, and I've got some shock bolts. I had some pretty good ones here, but they're cheap enough, and I get them from get a lot of this hardware from Motodad on eBay. He's got a lot of good little kits for hardware on these bikes. Yeah, looks a lot better. Hardware is really pretty cheap in the scheme of things, so it's just a good thing to do. It's like putting new chrome bumpers on a car. You know, on the older cars, the car can actually be pretty beat up, but just put a new set of chrome bumpers on it, and man, it really helps the look. So there we go. And we got our brake rod on and our brake stay. Got to plate some parts for this, so I'm going to leave that as it is. So I think you might agree that things are coming along pretty good for the now CT-1 Yamaha. The engine I've got most of the parts for now. Like I say, for the engine, I think I've got everything. I've got the transmission squared away now. It should work as it's supposed to. And I did find some of the other gears, the new old stock original gears for those close ratio transmissions. The one that I used is what they're selling you now new to do that with. And I can tell you right now, it's not going to work unless you got a machine shop to square everything around. I went ahead and left it on there because I put so much work into it, and it should just be fine. But that's something that we run into. For instance, some of the parts that you get these days, you know, something that like the nut for the back brake that has, you know, it's got the little stop on it. You can still get that nut, but they're black instead of chrome or silver. So you just you get what you order, and you get what they want to give you. So just be ready for that. So if you say you order a brake nut, you want a silver one, you're going to get a black one, so you're going to have to sandblast it and replate it or paint it or something. And that's just what you got to make, you know, things like that, things like the gear, you just got to make it work. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to survive with these old motorcycles. So anyhow, hey, if you like what you see here, give me a thumbs up and a subscription if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you very much. And thanks for going along on the ride. See you next video.